Hi, I'm Steve Miller, and today we are going to essentially read some of Dr. Nyman's book called the Book of Mormon Commentary. I should say the late Dr. Nyman, professor of Brigham Young University for over 30 years, closer to 40 years actually, and what this is it's a little bit of an experiment, frankly. I don't know how this is going to work, but I thought, what better way to share some of Dr. Nyman's work than to, just put it out there and see what people say and what people think and how they like it. I really like it. I enjoy it. So we're going to do this a couple different, well, one way I'm actually going to read it, and then you can follow along. I'm on the screen. You'll see that the book itself is going to be on screen. This six series set is available on Amazon, and at incredible value, and it's convenient as well to always have with you wherever you might go, wherever you have an opportunity to read, whether in a car, on a train, on a flight. It's a great way to just pull out either your Android or your iPhone or your iPad or your laptop and read some of these works. So it's 6 volumes. Here's volume 1. It's 800 pages. If I were to show you the other 5 volumes, they look a lot like this. But it is 3,000 pages. It's very comprehensive. As far as I know at this point, it's probably the largest Book of Mormon commentary. And so we're just going to jump right in. I have considered, involving other people, which I'd like to do in time as we go through these. Have guest people read along, so it's just not me. I've also thought of having a sponsor. So on this introductory video, what better way to sponsor this than to give a plug to the books? So the hardback set is available. It prices out at $129. The six book set, they typically retail on Kindle for $7.99 a book. And so anyway, if you're inclined, pick them up. Here we go. We're going to jump in and do the introduction here. So what you're going to be seeing here, this is my Kindle library, and across the top you can see the different books that I have. Volume 1, they aren't necessarily in order. Volume 2, These Records Are True. Volume 3, The Record of Alma. 4, Helaman. 5, The Divine Ministry, and then 6 is the final book, I, Mormon, Make a Record. So let me just apologize right now that I'm not a professional announcer. I am not awesome as I read. Probably, I suspect, like most people, sometimes I have to back up and read the same word twice, or if I get something out of order, I apologize. I'll do the best I can. But here we go. Actually, just to kind of give you a tour here of the beginning of the book. So here's the cover. This is the front page, and then this volume is called I, Nephi, Wrote This Record. And then some of the publishing information. It has a book of contents. The digital is linked to each chapter header, so you can just click on these and that'll advance you to wherever you are. In addition, the reader, you can come up here, you can change the font size, you can change the books, you can add bookmarks. It's just convenient. If you want to follow along in your own copy, something that you can make notes in, or even if you want to buy the hardback books, certainly feel free. It's all going to read the same. So here's the introduction. The Book of Mormon is the most electrifying book of our time, and the reader must go directly to the book itself to understand the statement. Just as with other great books, an experienced teacher can call attention to certain background information and cross-references that will enable the student to understand the book better. When Philip asked the man of Ethiopia, "Understandest thou what thou readest?" the man replied, "How can I, except some man should guide me?" Acts 8:30-31. As a teacher, I have studied and taught the Book of Mormon for over 40 years. This work represents the materials and concepts I have collected and developed during these years. It is intended that this commentary will be a guide to your study of the Book of Mormon, recognizing that the notes and observations are only supplementary to the record itself. The Book of Mormon is unique because it was written hundreds of years ago, but it is addressed to and for a people hundreds of years in the future. For example, Nephi wrote what are called the small plates about 570 BC. See 2 Nephi 5:28. He addressed them to the people who would be living after AD 1830, some 2,400 years in the future. Moroni wrote about AD 400 and addressed it to the same audience some 1,400 years later. As we discover the uniqueness of the Book of Mormon and follow its teachings by studying and restudying it, we come to a deeper appreciation of the book. We should also come to realize that the perfecting of the saints may be greatly enhanced by our reading of the Book of Mormon and applying its teachings to our lives. The Book of Mormon, after all, was written for us. Mormon abridged the many other records of the Nephites sometime before AD 385. Yet he addressed his work to a people who would live at least 1,445 years later. Moroni made his recordings in AD 421, some 1,400 years before the Book of Mormon was translated in 1830. As the years roll on, the time between the authors and the reading audience lengthens, but the message is still as remarkably pertinent today as it was when it was first written. There were four major people who abridged the Book of Mormon. They were all qualified to address the future because they had seen it. Nephi, the first major writer, was shown a vision of the nations and kingdoms of the Gentiles. See 1 Nephi 13 and 14. His vision included seeing the discovery of the Americas by a man moved upon by the Spirit of God. We know this man as Columbus. Nephi also saw the remainder of the future of the earth's nations until the end of the world. He did not write all of what he was shown because he was forbidden. He was told about 592 BC that the Apostle John of the Meridian of Time had been designated to describe this future period of time. This is clear confirmation of foreordination. Nevertheless, Nephi was fully aware of the situations and conditions of the day in which the Book of Mormon would come forth. Evidence of the knowledge of these things is shown in Nephi's later writings as he described the pride and false theories that would be and are prevalent among the many churches of the last days, the secret combinations that would be and are in operation, and the priestcrafts that would and still stifle the people from approaching their God to obtain salvation in his kingdom. See 2 Nephi 26:19-33. Nephi also gave many other prophecies of the latter-day Gentiles that will not be discussed or even listed here. See 2 Nephi 28 and 29. Jacob, the second major writer, was not as explicit in noting that his writings were intended for the latter days as was Nephi. However, he did confirm that he had seen the future. He spoke of having seen the return of the Jews to Jerusalem and of the Gentiles in the latter days. See 2 Nephi 6:9-13. In the book that carries his name, he addressed his beloved brethren of the latter days, a further indication that he had seen the day when the Book of Mormon would come forth. See Jacob 4:10-13, 17-18, and 6:1-15. Mormon, the major abridger, did not speak of a specific vision of the latter days, but his writings certainly imply it. He spoke to all of the latter-day groups of Israel, the Lamanites, the Jews, the rest of the tribes of Israel, to the Gentiles, and to all the ends of the earth. See Mormon 3:19 through 22, and Mormon 5:8 through 15. His warnings and admonitions to the reader indicate he knew of the future, and that knowledge could have only come to him through vision or revelation. See Mormon 8:22 through 24. It is only logical that Mormon would have been shown the day in which the Book of Mormon would come forth, since he was the major contributor to the work. All the other three major contributors had been shown that time period in vision. Moroni, son of Mormon, and the final writer and abridger, was the last major writer of the plates that were designated to come forth in the beginning of the dispensation of the fullness of times. He makes a direct, forthright statement that he had seen the day when the book would come forth, and this lends strong support to the idea that the others had had similar experiences. He declared, "Behold, the Lord hath shown unto me great and marvelous things concerning that which must shortly come at the day when these things shall come forth among you. Behold, I speak unto you as if ye were present, and yet ye are not. But behold, Jesus Christ hath shown you unto me, and I know your doing." Mormon 8:34 through 35. In further support that he had seen the latter days, he gave detailed descriptions of the day when the Book of Mormon would come forth. He described the saints as being the victims of secret organizations, the conditions and acts of nature in foreign lands, and the moral status of the people. See Mormon 8:26 through 33. He further described the pride and pollution among the people and their love of money. Mormon 8:36 through 37. Moroni could only have known such definite characteristics and instructions by vision or revelation, and the specific exactness of his wording supports the claim that he had seen it. Since each of these major writers had seen the days when the Book of Mormon would come forth, they were qualified to address the readers, the people of our day, personally and specifically. Each writer seemed to have had a personal interest in both his own time and in our time. He periodically stopped what he was writing, or abridging, to give valuable insight and admonitions. These insights and admonitions are clearly comments to the latter-day readers. For example, Nephi used the phrase, "I will show unto you," 1 Nephi 1:20, as he prepared the reader for what he was about to record. When he wanted to stop and draw a conclusion or make sure his reader understood what he had written about, he would introduce it with, "Thus we see," 1 Nephi 16:29. Jacob and Mormon followed a pattern similar to Nephi's, using the same introductory or concluding phrases. Moroni used a slight variation as he addressed various groups of people: the polluters, the hypocrites, the false teachers. See Mormon 8:38 through 41. Those who did not believe in Christ. See Mormon 9:1 through 6. Those who denied revelation. See Mormon 9:7 through 14. And those who imagined God could not perform miracles. See Mormon 8:15 through 20. Moroni then admonished them to collectively concerning the work of the Lord and the coming forth of the Book of Mormon in their day. See Mormon 9:21 through 37. As Moroni abridged the Book of Ether, he regularly stopped to address the reader with, "And now we can behold," or, "O ye Gentiles." Ether 2:9-11. He also spoke directly to the latter-day translator. See Ether 5. In his concluding book that bears his name, Moroni wrote, "For the benefit of my brethren, the Lamanites, in some future day." Moroni 1:4 and 10:1. The above admonitions by the four major writers are some of the major precepts in the oft-quoted statement made by the prophet Joseph Smith in 1841. Quote, "I told the brethren that the Book of Mormon was the most correct of any book on earth. and the keystone of our religion, and man would get nearer to God by abiding by its precepts than any other book. Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith, 194, quoted in the Book of Mormon introduction. The Book of Mormon is the most correct of any book on earth because of the doctrine or the gospel that it teaches. The angel Moroni told Joseph Smith that the fullness of the everlasting gospel was contained in the record. The Lord confirmed the angel's statement several times in modern revelation. See Doctrine and Covenants 14:10, 20 and 9, 27 and 5, 35 and 17, 39:11, and 42:12. Thus, it is a primary source of the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The prophet Isaiah foretold of the coming forth of the Book of Mormon. See Isaiah 29 and 2 Nephi 27. In the concluding statement of these chapters, he said, "They also that erred in spirit shall come to understanding that, and they that murmured shall learn doctrine." Isaiah 29:24, 2 Nephi 27:35. In a revelation concerning the translation of the Book of Mormon, the Lord said that in it are all things written concerning the foundation of my church, my gospel, and my rock. Doctrine and Covenants 18:4. On the day that the church was organized, the Lord specified many of the doctrines that the Book of Mormon teaches. See Doctrine and Covenants 20:17 through 36. The doctrines taught in the chapters of the Book of Mormon covered in each chapter of this book will be summarized in the end of that chapter. There will undoubtedly be some doctrines overlooked, but the majority of them will be included. The Book of Mormon is the keystone of our religion because it is a second witness of Jesus Christ, and it proves to the world that the Holy Scriptures, Bible, are true and that God does inspire men, give them revelation, and call them to his holy work, the priesthood, in this age and generation as well as in generations of old. Doctrine and Covenants 20, verse 11. The prophet Joseph Smith said, "Take away the Book of Mormon and the Revelations, and where is our religion? We have none. For without Zion and a place of deliverance, we must fall." Teachings of the prophet Joseph Smith, 71. Jesus Christ is spoken of prominently in all but 6 of the 239 chapters of the Book of Mormon, and these 6 chapters are historical, setting the stage for a testimony of his work. A summary of the sacred preaching, great revelations, and prophesying is also given in the end of each chapter. Following a conference of the church in June of 1831, the Lord gave a revelation to the elders of the church covering missionary work. In the revelation, they were instructed to journey, preaching the word by the way, saying none other thing than that which the prophets and apostles have written, and that which is taught them by the Comforter through the prayer of faith. Doctrine and Covenants 52:9. The Lord repeated basically the same message again in the 36th verse. The statements by some of the general authorities of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints quoted in this work or added at the end of the chapters were made with the above admonition of the Lord in mind. They have been of great value to me in reading and teaching the Book of Mormon over the past some 50 years, and it is hoped will also be of great value to others as they study the Book of Mormon. A few statements pertaining to the entire book are quoted below as a conclusion to this introduction. The prophet Joseph Smith wrote, "The Book of Mormon is a record of the forefathers of our western tribes of Indians, having been found through the ministration of a holy angel and translated into our own language by the gift and power of God. after having been hid up in the earth for the last 1400 years, containing the Word of God unto them. History of the Church, 252. President Heber J. Grant wrote, "The Book of Mormon is the great, the grand, the most wonderful missionary that we have." Conference Report, April 18, 1937. Elder Melvin J. Ballard, "The Book of Mormon has converted more people than all the other literature combined that the Church has produced. Our enemies have regarded it the strongest evidence that we offer that we have a divine mission. More efforts have been contributed to the destruction of the Book of Mormon than all the other efforts against the work, and yet at the end of 100 years this book still stands firm and unshaken, and the evidence of its divinity are increasing." Sermons on Missionary Service, Melvin J. Ballard. President Joseph Fielding Smith, I started to read the Book of Mormon before I was old enough to be a deacon, and I have been reading it ever since, and I know that it is true. Every member of the church ought to know that it is true, and we ought to be prepared with an answer to all of the critics who condemn it. It seems to me that any member of this church could never be satisfied until he or she has read the Book of Mormon time and time again, and thoroughly considered it so that he or she could bear witness that it is in very deed a record with the inspiration of the Almighty upon it, and that its history is true. I want to address myself to the men holding the priesthood, particularly, and to those, their wives, and to all other members of the church. No member of this church can stand approved in the presence of God who has not seriously and carefully read the Book of Mormon. Improvement Era, June 1961, 925 through 926. President Ezra Taft Benson wrote, "In our day, the Lord has inspired his servant to re-emphasize the Book of Mormon, to get the church out from under condemnation, the scourge, and judgment. Every Latter-day Saint should make the study of this book a lifetime pursuit. Otherwise, he is placing his soul in jeopardy and neglecting that which could give spiritual and intellectual unity to his whole life. There is a difference between a convert who is built on the rock of Christ through the Book of Mormon and stays hold of that iron rod, and one who is not." A Witness and a Warning, 1988. Introduction, pages 7 and 8. The entire book is highly recommended. It contains many great sermons of the Book of Mormon given while he was president of the church and a member of the Council of the 12. Several excerpts will be quoted in other parts of these volumes of the Book of Mormon, on the Book of Mormon. Elder Spencer W. Kimball wrote, "A Book of Vital Messages," Conference Report, April 8, 1963, also published in Faith Precedes a Miracle, Chapter 32, 1972. Too long to be included here, 9 pages. It has an intriguing message to all people in all walks of life. It's also highly recommended. The above quotations and those that will be cited through this work will be selective in that only the heart of the sermon or article will be quoted. The references are given so that the reader may read more if they care to look them up. There will be some duplication of quotations and other materials in the chapters that follow. Some of the quotes are applicable to more than one part of the Book of Mormon. For convenience, they will be quoted again so that the reader does not have to turn back to a previous lesson. That concludes the introduction of Volume 1, Video 1, I, Nephi, Wrote This Record, by the late Dr. Mont S. Nyman. So that does it for the introduction. I just wanted to say thanks for taking the time to join us on this. We'll be doing, we'll try out chapters at a time. throughout the first volume, and see how long it takes, see how long it goes, if we can get through one in a reasonable amount of time. I would appreciate if you would take some time to go to our YouTube page and like that page. Also, feel free to join us at the Book of Mormon commentary page on Facebook. So there we have it. The first one's in the book. Hopefully, you know, feel free to kind of let me know what you think. As I was reading it, I wasn't sure if I should read the scriptures. I don't know if that's necessary. I kind of think that we might leave it behind unless we're reading a specific scripture. So feel free to give me your feedback, and we'll forge ahead. Thank you.